Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Because when you ask most people to picture the center of the Catholic world, they almost always point to one place, right? Rome. But, the real story of this ancient faith, it's so much bigger than just a single city or even a single continent. Today, we're counting down the top 10 largest Catholic nations on Earth. And just to be super clear right out of the gate, we are looking at the total number of Catholics here, not the percentage of the population. We want to see where the Church is present on a massive, undeniable scale. And I promise you, by the time we hit number 1, you're going to have your entire map of this global faith completely redrawn.
So it begs the question, is the Catholic world actually centered in Rome, or even in Europe at all? We definitely tend to think of the Church in terms of its historical headquarters, but as we go through this countdown together, we're going to challenge that assumption head-on. We're not just tracking where people live, we're really analyzing how the Church itself is pivoting its resources, its leadership, and its overall focus toward a totally new frontier. We're going to see a pretty fascinating journey of expectation versus reality today, and really analyze how the Church is rapidly shifting its center of gravity toward the global south.
Starting us off at number 10, we've got Argentina. Now, this nation holds a really special place in the modern Catholic imagination, mostly because it gave us one of the most recognizable figures of our time, Pope Francis. But his election wasn't just some historical first. It was a massive flashing signal that the Vatican's focus has decisively shifted toward the global south. Down in Argentina, Catholicism has historically been woven into the very fabric of public life. We're talking everything from the grand cathedrals of Buenos Aires to your everyday neighborhood parishes. And even though the country is facing growing secularization, kind of like much of the West, the faith remains an absolutely enormous cultural force there. It's just carried in family memory, local customs, and the whole rhythm of the year.
Crossing back over the Atlantic to number 9, we land in Poland. In a lot of countries, religion is just one institution among many. But in Poland, Catholicism has long been tied to national survival itself. Through partitions, wars, decades of communism, the Church wasn't just a place to worship. It was literally the guardian of Polish memory and resistance. And of course, that history was heavily amplified by the legacy of St. John Paul II. For millions of Poles, he was this incredible sign that their deeply rooted faith could speak to the entire world. And hey, even with younger generations asking harder questions today, the sheer density of Catholic memory here keeps Poland firmly in our top 10.
Coming in at number 8 is Spain. Now, Spain represents an older, more historical center of Catholic civilization. This is the land of legendary saints. Think Teresa of Avila and Ignatius of Loyola. The historical imprint of the faith here is absolutely massive. Just picture the towering cathedrals or the ancient Camino de Santiago pilgrimage route that literally still draws seekers from across the globe today. Now, sure, modern Spain is noticeably more secular than it was in past centuries, but the cultural and historical weight of the Church, that is impossible to erase. It quietly survives in memory, in daily rituals, and in that breathtaking architecture.
All right, taking our first massive leap into Latin America, we hit number 7, Colombia. Down in Colombia, Catholicism isn't just some abstract, purely intellectual idea. It is warm, it's highly public, and it is deeply relational. Marian devotion, that deep cultural reverence for the Virgin Mary, is incredibly strong here, and faith is really tied to the everyday rhythms of home life. At the same time, we have to acknowledge Colombia has faced some deep national wounds and historical struggles. But through all that instability, the Church has so often served as a vital refuge and a powerful moral voice for the people.
Now, coming in at number 6 is a country that might actually surprise you, France. I mean, how does France rank so high, right? It's famous for being one of the clearest examples of modern secularism in the West. But remember, France is historically known as the eldest daughter of the Church. It has profound historical scale. Millions upon millions of French citizens still carry a Catholic identity through their family history, infant baptisms, and just general cultural heritage. So yeah, the Church might be a bit quieter here today, but quiet does not mean absent. France's place on this list is a real testament to the incredible endurance of its Catholic roots.
At number 5, we have Italy. Symbolically speaking, no country is more closely identified with the Church. Right, I mean, it's the home of Rome and the Vatican itself. So why is it only number 5? Well, while Catholicism is still very much a part of daily life here, you've got the ringing parish bells and those vibrant patron saint festivals, Italy is also experiencing demographic decline and secular shifts. But the raw numbers are still absolutely huge. It really proves that Italy isn't just the administrative center of the faith, it remains a massive human center as well.
Just missing the top 3 is the United States, and for some of you watching, this might actually be the most surprising entry yet.
The U.S. is, after all, heavily Protestant in its origins and highly religiously diverse, but through massive waves of immigration over the years, Irish, Italian, Polish, Hispanic, Filipino, Vietnamese, the U.S. has built this vast, highly adaptable national Catholic presence. It's a constantly renewed faith. It blends multiple languages and cultures into one of the largest networks of schools, hospitals, and charities in the entire country. It really proves that the Church can thrive and adapt in a modern, fast-moving, pluralistic society.
So, we are standing at an absolutely crucial pivot point right now. We are essentially leaving the old Christendom of Europe, where the faith is heavily characterized by memory, historical continuity, and quiet endurance, and we're crossing over into the global south, moving through Latin America and Asia. Out here, the faith is fiercely alive in everyday life. It is vibrant, it's public, and it's practiced with just enormous energy. This right here is the monumental demographic shift that is actively reshaping the global faith as we speak.
Breaking into our top 3, we cross the Pacific to the Philippines. This entry firmly, undeniably proves that the center of Catholic life has powerfully and decisively moved way beyond Europe. Over in Asia, Catholicism isn't just some tiny remnant. Here, it is a massive, unmistakable national reality that operates on an absolutely breathtaking scale.
I mean, just look at what a living faith looks like in the Philippines. It is electric. We are talking about an intense public Catholic culture, vibrant parish life, massive street processions that literally take over entire cities, deeply serious devotion during Holy Week, and profound Marian devotion. In the Philippines, faith isn't just some inherited label you check off on a census form. It is practiced, celebrated, and heavily visible in everyday life. It truly represents the young, energetic future of the global church. In fact, because of all this sheer energy, the global church is increasingly relying on Filipino priests and missionaries to go out and revitalize parishes all over the world.
Coming in hot at number 2 is Mexico. Few countries on earth are more deeply associated with their Catholic identity than this one. Mexico combines massive raw numbers with a profoundly rich devotional culture. And this is a faith that was forged through serious historical endurance. We're talking about periods of severe anti-clerical pressure where the government actively cracked down on the church. But that endurance, it gave Mexican Catholicism a real seriousness, a deeply rooted faith that people literally suffered to preserve.
And the absolute anchor of this Mexican spiritual imagination is Our Lady of Guadalupe. This image isn't just a religious symbol. It provides identity, comfort, and unity to the people. It keeps the faith incredibly close to home, living in household altars, at quinceañeras, and in everyday family prayers that just effortlessly connect the generations.
And finally, we arrive at the climax. Number 1, Brazil. Brazil is a continental-sized nation, and it contains the single largest Catholic population on planet Earth. The sheer scale of the faith here is simply immense. It touches everything from the massive, bustling megacities like São Paulo, all the way to humble, quiet chapels out in the remote regions of the Amazon.
To truly understand why all of this matters, let's reflect on this insight. The Church's center of gravity has been moving more and more toward the global south. Brazil is literally the ultimate proof of that statement. But you have to realize, this isn't just about where the followers happen to live. The Vatican itself is shifting its focus. They're elevating way more cardinals from the global south, they're addressing issues that are critical to developing nations, and they're recognizing that the future of its leadership lies right here. We are witnessing a thriving, living demographic shift that is completely changing the face of the religion.
When you line up the top 3 Catholic nations side by side, Brazil, Mexico, and the Philippines, notice what's missing. There isn't a single European country among them. No way. The largest concentrations of the faith today are entirely outside of the historical European centers. They're in Latin America and Asia, nations of just enormous diversity and human complexity.
What this explainer ultimately reveals is the true, profound meaning of a global communion. This countdown? It isn't just a list of numbers. It's a map of a living faith that crosses oceans, adapts to incredibly diverse cultures, and gathers millions of believers into one single body. The Church today belongs to no single nation, no single culture, and definitely no single hemisphere, precisely because it has taken such deep root in all of them.
We've traveled from the quiet, historical cathedrals of France and Spain to the vibrant street processions of the Philippines, all the way to the monumental scale of Brazil. It's a map of a faith that is ancient, yet constantly growing and adapting. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this. Looking at this massive shift toward the global south, which country's ranking surprised you the most? And if the Church's center of gravity has truly, permanently left Europe, what do you think the Vatican will look like 50 years from now? Keep learning, keep exploring, and we'll see you in the next Explainer.